Hey everybody, this is Rustin Rose with Access Entertainment and Metalholic Magazine. With us tonight, Nathan, I don't know, do you prefer Nate? Nathan? What is it?
Man, you can call me whatever the hell you want. I've been called a lot of things in my life.
Nathan Hunt of Shaman's Harvest. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, brother. I got home for a couple of days to take a break from all the madness.
Absolutely. You guys have the new album, Smoking Hearts and Broken Guns, coming out next Tuesday, the 16th. So you got to be pretty excited about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a long time coming for us.
You guys have been around for a while, but it was just with your previous album you sort of began to make more of a national imprint. But for those who haven't heard you yet or know about you really, can you give us a little backstory on the band?
Yeah, man. We formed in the late 1990s. Early 2000, and we just started making records right off the bat, thinking we were big shit. And then now, if I go back and listen to those, God, they're terrible, they're god awful. But it's all about development. And yeah, man, we just been plugging away. Just signed our first record label, Mascot Label Group, and for this record, Smoking Hearts, Broken Guns, and couldn't be more excited.
You are obviously the vocalist in the band. Tell us who else is in the band with you.
Yeah, we got Derek Shipp on lead guitar, Josh Hamler's rhythm guitar, Matt Fisher plays the bass, or we just refer to him as bass player. I don't even think he has a name anymore. And then Jarilla Bag, Swamp Doggy, Tumbleweed Baggins. He's our drummer. He's stanky, and yeah, man. Now that's all of us.
Now, is Derek new to the band?
Yeah, Derek is. He was added 2 months ago. Our old lead guitar player Ryan Tomlinson. He's getting married, and just couldn't tour no more. Man, it takes a heavy toll. So Derek, we found him down in Boot Hill, Missouri. I think he was born in the mud of the Mississippi, and and he couldn't be more excited.
Nice. Well, let's talk about the new album, Smoking Hearts and Broken Guns. Tell us about the new record from your perspective.
Man, it was a pleasure to record that record. It was pretty easy as far as the process goes. It was something we'd come in with a rough idea, and we'd wind up writing and recording that song that same day. And we just kind of one after the other. It just kind of poured out. Normally you're in pre-production and you're writing for months on end, and we never really had an opportunity to write on the road. We were focused on touring, and so we were like, oh shit, we got to do a record now. And we just got in the studio and put ourselves there, and the pressure was a little high, but I think it just happened so naturally.
Yeah, and the album turned out fantastic. I threw it in my Jeep again today when I was driving around because I knew I would be talking with you tonight, and I'm absolutely loving the record. So,
thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Now,
it was a work of love.
And you can hear it, yeah. Now, I really enjoy how you blend together so many elements on this album. You got the straight-up modern hard rock to some classic rock flavors. There's some shades of grunge in there. There's that classic southern vibe, even some alt-country edge. How does the songwriting process work in the band that brings all those styles together? I'm just, I want to write a song, that just fits my mood for that particular day. And I've got lots of moods, and I don't like to listen to the same music. I mean, who does, all the time? So I sure as hell don't want to sit there and tour the same kind of, I don't want to make the same song 11 different ways on a record. I want to make something that fits a different mood for whatever the listener's into. And most importantly, I think it's important for me to have somebody listen to the record from the first track all the way through without getting bored. And what's really tragic is that it's so hard to find that in a record these days. Everybody's writing those same 11 songs over and over.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they're so focused on writing that hit, and they think they find a formula, and they just keep on regurgitating that same formula. And I mean, people are smart. They know when it's not legitimate. And when I grew up, I grew up listening to vinyls, and I grew up listening to classic rock music and all kinds of music, but they never it never really stagnant. You know what I mean? They all had a different mood to it.
Right, absolutely. Now, in the process of all of this, you were diagnosed with lymph cancer in your throat while you were recording the record, I believe. How did that affect making the record, and how has that impacted you personally?
As far as the record goes, it was really, I mean, I was a lot of people get cancer, they get kind of overwhelmed with the fact that they have cancer, and it becomes all encompassing. I was lucky enough to be at the time in the process of writing a record that I was under pressure to release and try to duplicate or better our previous success. So for me, it was having something to do and pour myself into was it was beneficial for me. Making the record, it also affected. I'm sure hopefully you can hear it impacted every song, emotionally, and then kind of the direction each song took. I was scared at first, and kind of, I think a lot of people who get diagnosed with cancer, they feel like they're the only people in the world with it.
Right.
And they feel alone. And, some of that comes out in some of the tracks. And then I get pissed off, and then I get determined to beat it, just like, many people do. And it definitely shows in the record.
Hell, you can hear all of that in the first single, Dangerous.
Yeah, man, that single is, I think it was the right call to go with that one. It's kind of one of those ones where you feel like you can kick open the door instead of knock politely, you know what I mean?
Right, absolutely. So, and it's a great way to lead off the record, too. It's not just the first single, it's the first track on the record, and it just really sets the whole thing up. And there's a lot of mood and emotion on this album. You're very emotive when you sing and the way it comes out. And you do a lot of songs in some minor keys anyway, sort of that dark vibe to it all, but there's still moments of hope and light in the album.
Yeah, I like writing music that, even within, not just in a record, but even within a single track, it tells a story. You have a change of emotions through that track, and maybe by the end of it, maybe it's a little of certain songs, maybe it's a little uplifting. Even if it starts out really dark. Right,
and one of my favorites, and of course, I think it's like the last track you wrote for the album, "Country as Fuck." What's the story behind that one?
It's not much of a story. It's really, the whole album is so dark and intense. It needed some levity, and it's kind of a caricature of people that live here in the Midwest, and our neighbors and who we are and how we grew up, and it's when you drive by and you see that truck up on blocks in the front yard, their country as fuck. It's kind of that vibe, and it's fun. It's like a Midwestern Motorhead.
Yeah, it's got to come across great live, I imagine.
Oh, it's a blast. Yeah, people dig it and they like singing. But I think people just like to say the word fuck. So
well, there is that. Now, there's so many great songs on this album. We don't have time to talk about all of them, but I'm sure you love all the songs because, especially given what was going on at the time of the recording, this one's very personal to you. But are there one or two tracks that maybe resonate with you perhaps a bit more than the others?
Yeah, my two favorite right now, I think, are Blood in the Water. It has like this swampy southern feel to it. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of bombastic. It's fun to play. It's the low, thunderous toms, And then my second favorite probably is In Chains. I think it kind of it bleeds a little Motown, a little blues, a little straight up modern rock, and has a lot of different vibes to it. And it really was the first song I've ever done with a chorus I was singing all falsetto and almost which lends itself to that Motown feel.
Nice. And then one more, I'll pick your brain for one more of my favorites on the album, 10 Million Voices.
10 Million Voices, that's kind of that anthem, that's our anthem on the record, of the downtrodden and all that. And my old lady, she keeps saying we need to try to sell it to Game of Thrones. The whole winter's coming thing. But no, man, That's it's probably one of the darker ones, but it's that 6/8 feel. It kind of even has a weird Beatles-esque pre-chorus to it, and yeah, man, that's whenever those other two aren't my favorite, that song's my favorite.
Now, you guys also at the end of the album chose to put an acoustic version of Dragonfly, which was the hit off your previous album, Shine. Tell us about your choice to do that.
That was it was done. We'd actually recorded that shortly after our last record, Shine. People, we realized it started resonating with people, and we wanted to show like just a little more acoustic, epic vibe to that Shaman's Harvest had. So we went ahead and tracked it, but then we didn't have anything to do with it, because we'd already released the record, so we couldn't put it on anything, and it just seemed like a waste to not put out there, now. And I went back and forth with it, should we release it? Should we not release it? Are we just trying to rehash, what we already did? And by the end of the day, it just made such a good ending to the record.
Right.
So we just decided let's go with it.
If the album weren't as strong as it is, you might make that rehash argument, but there's so many standout tracks long before you get to the end of the record that you can't even make that argument. So I think it was a good call. But
right on.
So
what you said.
Yeah. Now, before we get out of here, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you came to music, who some of the influential albums and artists were that's helped define your style as a songwriter and as a singer.
Man, I was, one of my first memories with music is I was probably 3 or 4, when we had these little play school tambourines and maracas, whatever. And my family, we would put on Fleetwood Mac's Tusk, and we'd be dancing around the living room. And that's, just sitting there with my head up against the speakers as a kid and just listening to all the different little nuances that they used to put in records. I fell in love early. I was hooked. The family, we always sat around drinking beer and playing acoustics and hollering at the top of our lungs. And music was never not a part of my life. So I was destined to try to struggle as a musician from birth, I think.
Was there a vocalist or two that you maybe not wanted to sound like, but you took inspiration from in terms of what you wanted to do with your voice?
Oh, Jesus, yeah. Joe Cocker early on, Robert Plant, I could never do that, but his fury, I really could appreciate as a young kid. Eddie Vedder, when I was, 13 or 14, or however old I was, 15, 14, whenever I first heard Eddie Vedder, there was a darkness and intensity that he portrayed that I really gravitated to. There's been a lot. Right now, whoever the lead singer for Rival Sons is, man, I really dig what they're doing. With as a vocalist, anybody who just leaves it all out there, and as at the end you just feel like surely they can't do another song, and they do. To me, I think that's important for rock and roll right now. I think we need it. I think this country needs some honest to goodness rock and roll.
Yeah, and that's something I've sort of been griping about for years is when the 90s sort of hit and the grunge came in and rock and roll sort of started dying and everything sort of became homogenized and generic, and it's like bands, there's no bands writing albums anymore of just really great songs. It's like you said, they're just trying to generate one hit to do what they think they need to do, and it's like and this album, Smoking Hearts and Broken Guns, this is an album, and we need more of that. So I want to thank you for that.
Oh, right on, brother. I appreciate that, every word of that, man. That means a lot.
Pointless question of the week before we get out of here. If you could appear on any television series, what would it be?
I would appear on, that's two. It's either The Walking Dead as an extra zombie, because who doesn't want to get dressed up for prom? And then probably Game of Thrones as somebody who gets a spear through their head or some shit like that.
Why you always got to be the victim, man? What's up with that?
I know. Man, I think it was that grunge era that did it to me.
Oh, man. All right, so before we get out of here, what is on tap for Shaman's Harvest in terms of touring? Are you guys going to be getting out doing something national? Is it just going to be regional for now? Or
no, we are. It's a time of year for touring, but we're doing some House of Blues shows in Texas with Theory of a Dead Man, and we just got off doing some stuff with Theory and Crowbot, but we do have a tour in the works right now, and we will be, I can't say what it is yet just because we don't have it, and I really want to get it, but it's from beginning of October, all the way through the end of December, and we will be in every state in the country, so most likely we'll be coming to you.
Nice. You get my way, you and I can sit down and talk classic rock and roll albums.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Where you at?
I'm in Boise, Idaho.
Boise, Idaho? Oh, dude, it's gorgeous. Gorgeous area up there.
It is beautiful up here. I used to live in the Bay Area in California, and I've lived in Texas and Arizona and Colorado. But it is definitely beautiful up here. But unfortunately, the downside of living here is so many shows pass us by. So definitely very hopeful that this will be one of those nooks that you manage to hit, because I'd love to sit down and chat with you in person.
Absolutely.
Nate Hunt, Shaman's Harvest, the new album, Smokin' Hearts, Broken Guns, out this coming Tuesday, the 16th, right?
Yep, that's it, man.
Mascot Records. Nate, thanks so much for taking the time, and we hope to see you on the road real soon.
Thank you for your time, brother.
Absolutely. Take it easy.